Not the war fought with swords and shields on a battlefield, but the one fought within you. The war for a goal, a passion, a purpose, a revenge. And when it's over, whether in victory or defeat, the silence that follows is deafening. You are left standing in the ruins of the person you were, and you discover a terrifying truth. The war was all you were. Backquote, scene. The man, his face obscured, pulls the axe free. He is weary. He looks out over a vast, uncultivated field under a gray sky. Backquote narrator. This is what I call the ghost psychology. It's the curse of the survivor, the hollow echo that lives inside a person whose defining purpose has been ripped away. It's the feeling that your life has already happened, and you are just an apparition haunting the aftermath. Today, we will not talk about how to win the war. We will talk about what to do with the peace. We will explore how a broken warrior, a man who was nothing more than a weapon, learned to build a life from the mud and soil. This is the story of how to start a second life. Backquote, scene. Montage of bleak, beautiful landscapes. A windswept coast, a barren field at dawn, a close-up of frost on a dead leaf. The mood is one of quiet desolation. Backquote narrator. Have you ever felt it? That chilling sense that the best parts of you are in the past. You wake up, you go through the motions, you perform the necessary tasks of living, but the fire, the driving force that once gave everything meaning, is gone. It feels like you are reading from a script written for someone else. You look in the mirror and see a stranger wearing your face. The passions that once consumed you now feel like childish games. The ambitions that propelled you forward now seem like foolish errands. You are haunted by a former version of yourself. A version that was more alive, more vibrant, more real. Backquote narrator. Think of the person who pours a decade of their life into a company, only to be made redundant. Or the artist who completes their magnum opus and then feels nothing. Or perhaps it's you, looking back at a past relationship, a past dream, a past version of yourself, and realizing that you defined yourself so completely by that one thing, that without it, you are a void. You might try to fill that void. You chase new thrills, you start new projects, you seek new distractions. But it's like drinking salt water to quench a thirst. The activity provides motion, but not meaning. You are busy, but you are not alive. You are a ghost, rattling the chains of your own history, invisible to a world that seems to be moving on without you. Backquote, scene. Back to the Viking Age. A young man with hollow eyes, Thorfinn, stares into a campfire. The flames reflect in his eyes, but there is no light within them. He looks like a shell. Backquote narrator. And here is the hidden cost of the ghost psychology, the part we rarely admit. This emptiness is not a passive state. It is an active weight. It's a heavy cloak of apathy you wear every single day. It doesn't just make you sad, it makes you a slave. A slave to the past, a slave to inaction. Your freedom, your very will, has been shackled to a tombstone. And you begin to believe that this is all that is left for you. A long, quiet, meaningless sentence. But what if it isn't? What if the path out of this purgatory is not found in a grand new purpose, but in the dirt under your fingernails? Backquote, scene. Thorfinn, now a slave, is handed an axe. He looks at it, then at the vast, intimidating forest he is meant to clear. There is no hope in his eyes, only resignation. Backquote narrator. To understand how to begin a second life, we must look to one of the most profound transformations in storytelling. The journey of Thorfinn Karlsefni in what is known as the Farmland Arc. Here is a boy who spent his entire youth consumed by a single purpose: revenge. His father was murdered, and for a decade, every breath he took, every meal he ate, every life he ended, was fuel for that singular, burning fire. He became a prodigy of violence, a legendary warrior. But when the object of his revenge is stolen from him, when the man he lived to kill dies an anticlimactic death, Thorfinn collapses. The fire goes out. He becomes the perfect embodiment of the ghost psychology, an empty vessel, sold into slavery, indifferent to whether he lives or dies. His journey back to life is the solution we are looking for. It is a philosophy I call radical atonement through labor. Backquote, scene. A time-lapse sequence. Thorfinn and another slave, Einar, begin the slow, arduous process of clearing the forest. Felling massive trees, digging up stumps, moving rocks. The work is brutal and repetitive. Narrator. The core idea is this. A mind lost in the abstract maze of the past cannot be healed with more thinking. It cannot be healed with grand promises or new ideologies. It must be anchored in the unforgiving, tangible reality of the physical world. The path to a new soul is paved not with ideas, but with sweat and soil. This philosophy is built on 3 fundamental principles. Narrator. First, the body is an anchor. Thorfinn's mind is a storm of trauma, guilt, and nihilism. He is haunted by the ghosts of those he's killed. He is adrift in a sea of meaninglessness. He cannot think his way out of this hell. So, the world gives him a task that requires no thinking, only doing. Felling a tree. The weight of the axe in his hands. The burning in his muscles. The sting of sweat in his eyes. The splinter in his palm. These raw, physical sensations drag his consciousness out of the swirling vortex of his memories and chain it to the present moment. Your body is the only part of you that exists exclusively in the now. When your mind is your enemy, you must take refuge in the fortress of your body. The pain of honest labor becomes a cleansing fire, burning away the phantoms of the mind. Scene. Close up on Thorfinn's hands, gripping an axe. They are blistered, then calloused, then scarred. They are the hands of a worker, not just a warrior. Narrator. Second, empty hands, empty purpose. The ghost psychology thrives in idleness. When your hands are empty, your mind fills them with the ghosts of yesterday. Thorfinn's hands, once instruments of death, are now instruments of creation. He is not building a kingdom or a monument. He is simply clearing a field. But in the rhythmic, repetitive cycle of destruction for the sake of creation, cutting down a tree to make way for a farm, a new purpose begins to germinate. The goal is not the farm itself. The goal is the work. The act of doing becomes the meaning. You do not need a grand purpose to start your second life. You just need something to do with your hands. Scene. Thorfinn and Einar work together. A quiet moment of shared exhaustion, a shared drink of water. A silent understanding passes between them. Narrator. And third, the borrowed purpose. Left to his own devices, Thorfinn would have withered away. He had no reason to live for himself. But then came Einar, another slave who, despite his own suffering, held onto a simple, powerful dream. To create a farm where he could live in peace and make amends for his family's past. Thorfinn, incapable of dreaming for himself, latches onto Einar's dream. He begins to work not for his own survival, but for Einar's hope. This is the crucial step. Atonement is not an internal negotiation with your own guilt. True atonement is external. It is service. You find a way out of your own head by finding a way into someone else's life. You borrow their purpose until you are strong enough to build your own. Scene. A beautiful, wide shot. The cleared field. A single green sprout pushes up through the dark soil. The sun is rising. Narrator. Think of your life as a fallow field, hardened and overgrown with the weeds of past regrets and failures. You cannot simply will a new crop into existence. First, you must do the back-breaking work of clearing the land. You must pull the weeds of resentment one by one. You must break the hard ground of your apathy with the plow of physical effort. You must till the soil of the present moment. Only then, in that prepared earth, can the seeds of a new life, a second life, begin to grow. This is not a metaphor. It is a manual. Narrator. So, how do we apply this? How do you, living in the modern world, begin the work of tilling your own fallow field? This is not about quitting your job and becoming a farmer. It is about integrating the philosophy of radical atonement through labor into the life you have, right now. Here are 4 practical steps to begin building your second life. Narrator. Step 1. Find your field. Scene. A person deliberately clearing a cluttered desk. Another methodically washing dishes by hand, focusing on the warmth of the water and the texture of the soap. Narrator. Your field is a small, contained, physical task that you can engage with, that has a clear beginning and end, and produces a tangible result. It must be something you do with your hands. It could be weeding a garden bed. It could be deep cleaning one room of your house. It could be learning to bake bread from scratch, feeling the dough come alive under your palms. It could be organizing your bookshelf, not by thinking about it, but by physically handling every single book. Ask yourself, what is a small patch of chaos in my physical world that I can bring into order through my own effort? Commit to this task for at least 30 minutes a day. The goal here is not productivity. The goal is embodiment. It is to force your distracted, haunted mind to pay attention to what your hands are doing. To ground yourself in the sensory world, the smell of wood polish, the feeling of soil, the sound of a broom against the floor. This is the practice of small creation. You are not building a new life yet. You are just clearing a single acre of land. Narrator. Step 2. Embrace the silence. Backquote, scene. A person is walking in nature. They deliberately take out their earbuds and put them in their pocket. They close their eyes and listen to the sounds of the forest. Backquote, narrator. When you perform the task from step 1, you must do it in silence. No music. No podcasts. No television in the background. This is the hardest part, and the most important. Because when you remove the external noise, you will be forced to confront the internal noise. The ghosts will come. The regrets, the anxieties, the memories, they will rise up to meet you. Do not fight them. Do not engage them. Simply observe them, as you would observe clouds passing in the sky. Let them scream, let them rage, let them whisper. Your job is not to silence them. Your job is to keep your hands moving. Keep washing the dish. Keep pulling the weed. Keep sanding the wood. You are teaching yourself a new way to be. You are learning that the ghosts in your head do not have power over your body. Your hands can still work, your feet can still move, even when your mind is a battlefield. You are reclaiming your physical self from the tyranny of your thoughts. This is not meditation where you seek emptiness. This is labor as meditation, where you find your anchor in the storm. Narrator. Step 3. Serve a single person. Backquote, scene. A series of simple, selfless acts. Someone carries a neighbor's heavy grocery bags. Another person makes a cup of tea and brings it to their partner without being asked. Someone listens intently to a friend's problems, without offering advice, just being present. Backquote, narrator. Remember the principle of the borrowed purpose. Your own will is too weak right now to be your engine. You must find fuel outside of yourself. Identify one person in your life. And identify one small, concrete thing you can do to lessen their burden or bring them a moment of peace. Do not announce it. Do not ask for thanks. This is not a transaction. It is an act of service. Offer to run an errand for an overwhelmed coworker. Cook a meal for a friend who is struggling. Take on a chore that your partner usually does, simply to give them an hour of rest. Listen, truly listen, to someone for 15 minutes without interrupting or turning the conversation back to yourself. The purpose of this is to shift your focus. The ghost psychology is intensely narcissistic. It traps you in the labyrinth of your own feelings, your own story, your own pain. By focusing your energy on the needs of another, you punch a window in the wall of your own prison. For a few moments, you forget yourself. And in forgetting yourself, you give a new self a chance to be born. Narrator. Step 4. The Atonement Ledger. Backquote, narrator. This is a private exercise. Take a piece of paper or a journal. On the left side, write down one specific action from your past that haunts you. A moment of cowardice, a word of cruelty, an opportunity for kindness that you ignored. Be specific. I was not there for my friend when they needed me. I spoke dishonestly to protect my own ego. Now, you must resist the urge to drown in guilt. Guilt is indulgent. It is a passive poison. Atonement is an active verb. On the right side of the page, you will write down one small, constructive action you will take today that is philosophically opposite to your past failure. If you were not there for a friend, your action today might be: I will call my sibling and ask how they are, and I will listen for as long as they need to talk. If you were dishonest, your action might be: I will find an opportunity to give someone an honest and sincere compliment today. The goal is not to balance the cosmic scales. You cannot erase the past. The goal is to reroute the toxic energy of guilt. Guilt keeps you circling the drain of the past. Atonement uses the weight of the past as leverage to create a better present. You are acknowledging the debt, not by punishing yourself, but by making a small, positive payment into the world. You are turning poison into medicine, one drop at a time. Backquote. Scene. Return to the Farmland Arc. Thorfinn is asleep, but he's having a nightmare. He's drowning in a sea of hands, the ghosts of his victims. He wakes up in a cold sweat, gasping. Backquote. Narrator. Does this process actually work? Can these small, seemingly insignificant acts truly heal a shattered soul? For proof, we need only look back to the field. Thorfinn's nightmares were relentless. Every night, the ghosts of the men he killed dragged him down into a hell of his own making. His guilt was not a vague feeling, it was a visceral, nightly torment. His mind was actively trying to kill him. But every morning, the sun would rise. And Einar would be there. And the forest would be there. The physical reality of the work was his only reprieve. He couldn't think about his past when he was calculating the fall of a 50-foot tree. He couldn't dwell on his sins when his shoulders ached from hoisting a rock. The work did not erase his past, but it gave him a foothold in the present. It was his anchor. Backquote. Scene. Thorfinn defends Einar from abusive overseers. For the first time in years, he uses his strength not for revenge, but to protect someone else. His eyes have a spark of life in them. Backquote. Narrator. The turning point was not a moment of grand epiphany. It was when the farm was threatened by others. In that moment, Thorfinn acted. Not for himself, he still didn't care if he lived or died, but to protect Einar, and to protect the simple dream they had built with their own hands. He used his old skills, his capacity for violence, not for selfish revenge, but in selfless service. He defended their small patch of cultivated land. He defended his borrowed purpose. This aligns perfectly with the findings of psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl. In his monumental work, Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl observed that the prisoners in the concentration camps who were most likely to survive were not the physically strongest, but those who managed to hold on to a purpose. Those who felt they had a reason to live, a loved one to see again, a book to write, a contribution to make, could endure almost any suffering. Frankl's logotherapy is founded on this principle. He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. Thorfinn had no why. He was a dead man walking. The farm, and his service to Einar's dream, became his why. The physical labor was the how. It was the bridge that allowed him to walk from a life defined by death to one defined by creation. Backquote. Scene. A stunning, painterly shot of Thorfinn and Einar standing before their finished field. It is vast and ready for planting. The sun is setting, casting a warm, golden light over them. There is a sense of peace and accomplishment. Backquote. Narrator. The logic is undeniable. A mind fixated on the past is like a body that refuses to excrete waste. It becomes poisoned by its own history. To heal, the system must be flushed. Physical labor, acts of service, and constructive atonement are not mere coping mechanisms. They are the essential spiritual practices for a person trapped in the ghost psychology. They force you to get out of your head and into your life. They teach you, through calluses and sore muscles, that you are more than your memories. You are a body that can work, a heart that can serve, and a will that can, day by day, choose to build rather than to break. You do not find your second life. You earn it. One swing of the axe, one stone cleared, one seed planted at a time. Backquote. Scene. The final shot is of the narrator's own hands, perhaps resting on an old wooden table. They are thoughtful, still. The lighting is soft and contemplative. Backquote. Narrator. The past is a powerful ghost. It will tell you that its story is the only one that matters. That you are defined by your scars, your mistakes, your losses. But the soil beneath your feet tells a different story. It tells you that all new life grows from decay. That the hardest ground can be broken. And that the work of your hands can save your soul. I want you to think about this. Not as a story about a Viking, but as a question for you, right now. What is the field you can begin to till in your own life? What small, physical act of creation or order can you commit to, starting tomorrow, to anchor yourself in the present? Share your first step in the comments below. Reading them is how we till this field together. Narrator. If these are the conversations you have been searching for, The ones that treat stories not as entertainment, but as maps for the human soul. Then join our community of thinkers and warriors. Subscribe to the Farmland Preacher. Narrator. To fully grasp the depth of Thorfinn's transformation, you must first understand the brilliant, terrible fire he had to escape. That fire was lit and stoked by one man, his mentor, and his nemesis. Watch our analysis of Askeladd next, to understand the philosophy of a necessary villain.